The entire ballroom fell silent when Andrew laughed into the microphone. The woman standing beside him did not laugh. Rachel Bennett simply let go of the chair in front of her and lowered her eyes to the floor. The gala that evening was being held at a luxury hotel in Denver to celebrate the greatest achievement of Andrew's career. More than 50 guests were in attendance. Colleagues, business partners, friends, people who had watched him rise from an ordinary employee to the youngest executive in the company's history. Andrew was enjoying every moment of the admiration surrounding him. Until he invited his wife to join him on stage. Rachel refused. She offered a small smile and gently shook her head. Andrew assumed she was being shy. A few minutes later, he extended his hand toward her again. Rachel refused once more. This time, the smile on Andrew's face faded slightly. By the third attempt, with dozens of eyes fixed on them, his patience began to wear thin. His voice echoed through the sound system. Maybe my wife doesn't think my success is worth celebrating. A few people laughed. Not loudly, but enough to change the atmosphere in the room. Rachel stood perfectly still. No explanation. No reaction. Only her eyes lowered slightly, as though she had just heard something painfully familiar. No one in the room noticed. They saw only a quiet woman. No one knew that behind her ordinary appearance was a secret that even her own husband had never truly understood. Rachel slowly picked up her handbag. Then she walked out of the ballroom. Every step was strangely calm. At the back of the crowd, a female colleague named Melissa watched everything in silence. Unlike the others, she did not laugh. And for the first time that night, she found herself wondering a question no one else had thought to ask. Why was Rachel so afraid of standing under the spotlight? 3 days after the gala, Andrew still could not understand why Rachel had not come home. He had made dozens of calls, sent countless messages. But all he received in return was a silence so heavy it felt suffocating. At first, he assumed she was simply angry. Then he began to feel uneasy. Because Rachel had never disappeared like this before. Every evening when he returned to their large house, Andrew saw familiar traces of her everywhere. Her book was still resting on the coffee table. Her coat still hung by the door. Everything remained exactly as it had been. Everything except Rachel. On the 4th day, he drove to her sister's house in Colorado Springs. The woman opened the door, but there was nothing welcoming in her expression. Andrew asked if Rachel was okay. "She's fine," her sister replied shortly. Then the door almost closed. Before Andrew could leave, she suddenly added one more sentence. "There are things my sister has been trying to tell you for a very long time. You just never truly listened." Those words stayed with Andrew the entire drive home. That night, for the first time, he opened the drawer of Rachel's desk. Inside was an old notebook. Pages covered with handwriting appeared beneath the glow of the lamp. Andrew read every line. Notes about anxiety attacks. Moments of panic whenever she had to stand before a crowd. Fears she had never shared with anyone else. Then, he noticed one name appearing over and over again throughout the journal. Hope Horizon Foundation. A national charitable organization Rachel had been quietly leading for years. Andrew froze. All this time, he had believed his wife was a shy woman who needed protection. In reality, Rachel was leading hundreds of employees and helping thousands of people across the country. For the first time in years, Andrew was forced to confront a terrifying truth. Perhaps he had never truly known the woman he married. 10 days after the gala, Rachel finally agreed to meet Andrew. Not at home, not at his office, but at the small park where they had shared their very first date. That afternoon felt unusually quiet. Rachel sat on a wooden bench beneath the shade of a large tree. Her face seemed calmer than before. Yet the distance between them felt greater than at any point during their 3 years of marriage. Andrew sat down across from her. For the first time, he did not try to explain himself. He did not try to defend his actions. He asked only one question. "Why do you always avoid the spotlight?" Rachel looked at him for a long time. Then she smiled softly. A sad smile. She began talking about her college years. The day a group of students secretly recorded her while she was giving a presentation. The video was later shared throughout the campus. Hundreds of mocking comments. Hundreds of judgmental stares. From that day on, every time she became the center of attention, she felt as though she were being dragged back into the worst moment of her life. Andrew sat frozen. Because suddenly, he remembered. Rachel had told him this story when they first started dating. But at the time, he had been busy answering work emails. He had heard her words, but he had never truly listened. Rachel turned her gaze toward the lake ahead. "The thing that hurt me most wasn't what you said at the gala," she said quietly. "It was realizing that the person closest to me never knew what I had been afraid of all these years." Andrew lowered his head. For the first time in his life, he understood the difference between loving someone and truly understanding them. Rachel had not forgiven him. She had not promised to come back. But when she stood up to leave, she was no longer walking away completely alone. And sometimes, that is exactly where a marriage finds its chance to begin again. If this story made you reflect on your own relationships, share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Rachel should give Andrew another chance? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more emotional and unforgettable stories.